So, I've decided that, might as well play the other game about a frog. This is the Konami classic, Frogger. Which is probably also a pachinko machine now. So, why did the frog cross the road? Because, I don't have an answer to that. So Frogger is most known for, having Japanese jingles and being one of the first arcade games to feature frog sex. Yeah. So if you find a pink frog on one of the, logs, you run into it and, use that to guide the frog across the thing for extra points. One thing you might want to know about Frogger is that it's also pretty hard. I actually used to have the Game Boy version of this game when I was a kid. It was hard then, too. The hardest thing about Frogger is getting the, ones on the side there. The one closest to the ones where the logs are coming from. I also used to have the PlayStation Frogger game, which, it was kind of, critically panned. I remember liking it fairly much, although it was also really, really difficult. Probably more difficult than it should have been. But it was an interesting way to take Frogger into the third dimension. You had to, rescue 5 frogs, 5 multicolored frogs, somewhere in these gigantic maze-like levels. Some of them were simple, like... The first level, or the first entire world, was basically classic Frogger, just in 3D. There was also, a cave level, there was, a factory level. There was also an autumn forest level, which was another one that was deceptively hard. Okay, I was not next to that thing. Yeah, like, a lot of the levels in, PlayStation Frogger were just, the biggest problem is that some of them were so huge, like the lake levels. Like, the camera was restricted to a very small segment, like, it wouldn't even show you the full road in that one, you just had to get across it from one step at a time. And there were these huge labyrinth-like levels, which, you know, it might not be a problem, except that PlayStation Frogger also had a time limit. I mean, even if you use cheats, like a Game Shark, and remove the time limit, give yourself infinite lives, the levels were still quite hard to navigate. Okay, I will say that the controls are a little bit loose. Maybe it's just the emulator on that one, but, yeah. But yeah, one thing I've noticed playing this on my own is that hit detection is wonky as fuck at some points. Yankee Doodle. One extra frog for 20,000 points. Huh, that doesn't kill you going back. Interesting. Okay, that was just my fuck up. Let's see. One thing that I do like about Frogger is that it's, you know, not just another space shooter game. Like Kicks, it has a fairly unique premise. There weren't really any other games like it, which definitely gives it big bonus points in favor for including it. Although I don't think this is one of the most popular franchises, like, after... Well, I don't want to say it died out after the PlayStation. There were definitely some, there were definitely all kinds of Frogger games, usually on handheld systems. Like, there was a 2D platformer for the Game Boy Advance. I don't know the actual title, but it was a Frogger game. But it was more a 2D platformer about navigating obstacles and such. The Frogger games got further and further away from the actual Frogger point of crossing the road. I mean, some of them would just have a reference to it, like in one level in the first level you had to navigate through a highway, but that was about it. But yeah, I'm probably going to be playing like very short and arcade games for a while to just, I guess, kind of inflate my number a little bit, you know? I know it's petty, but it's something that I do want to boost up. First, okay. Huh. Frogger doesn't even let you input your own name. It just tells you the points. I made that. What the fuck? I was on the log. What did I do? Okay, that was my fuck up. But yeah, let's... you also get more points if you go into one that has a fly on it. I'd say it's usually not worth it. There usually really isn't enough indication of the turtles that will go down underwater. In the PlayStation version, you could easily tell the difference. And I think even in the Game Boy version. Because like I said, that's the one that I'm most familiar with. And I gotta tell you, the hit detection is way better in that version. Like, way better. This is a game where you need to move fast. I think an issue about this game is that it's kind of restricted to a grid, but not really. You move in basically a grid formation, as you were walking on a grid, but things like the logs and the turtles, they push you off of the grid, which can make hit detection wonky. Also, when on the turtles, if you're not dead on, it can be hard to determine how much space you have and if you can really move side to side. And once again, the controls are rather loose. If you're wondering, right now this game is on my maybe list. Like, I know Frogger is kind of popular, but it's, like, not really that popular. Like, it's no Donkey Kong or Pac-Man, but, you know, it was one of the games that was there. Although, what I remember most about my Frogger for the Game Boy is that, why am I playing this when I could be playing Super Mario Land 2, Link's Awakening, or Pokemon? Had like 5 games for the console, and this was one of them. Oh yeah, and then shit like this happens. If you go in there with a gator, you will be screwed. Da 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 la la la. I definitely do remember having a lot of fun with the Frogger game on the PlayStation, though. Even though it's not exactly to this game's credit or favor, because it's not really much like traditional Frogger. It's more of a collectathon. And like I said, that game had 2 very major problems. Maybe if I decide to continue PSX Quest on its own, I will play that, even though I don't think I can even beat it today. Okay, I was... That shouldn't have counted. Okay, that is definitely a strike against the game. The vehicles are a lot smaller than their hitboxes. That leads to quite a few cheap deaths. Speaking of cheap deaths, the PlayStation game had one level, like, the Autumn Forest area had 2 levels. One of them was basically you running from these bees. Just, they were so hard to outrun as a kid. They were just awful. And the second level wasn't much better because it was a huge, one of those huge sprawling levels where you could never fucking find anything. But yeah, I think for the next few games, we're just going to be going after, like, arcade games and really short games and such, you know. I mean, this is probably going to bite me in the ass later when the only games I have left are either really, really difficult or really, really long, because I'm probably going to get the difficult ones out of the way before 900. But I can imagine each one after 900 taking more than like 100 hours. You know, that's assuming I can even get that far. Oh, come on. It's always a fight for that one. Ah, what the turtle just started going faster. Okay, what? Look, I'm sorry, but that was... Alright, that was made by there. Alright, but I think I have made my decision of whether this is a yes or no. And the answer, I'm afraid, is definitely a no. At this point, it's getting to be, yeah, maybe, probably does mean no, but... Like, I did not know that Frogger had this piss-poor hit detection. This wasn't a problem with the other... And now the actual sound effects have stopped. Okay. Like, what the hell? Like, I'm pretty sure I know why it has piss poor hit detection, at least with not... Because it's on a grid, but the things don't move grid-based. It just doesn't convey enough information to the player. I wonder if I have extra leeway from the front. No, not exactly. Nope. Okay. But yeah, what confuses me the most, though, is kind of hopping from log to turtle. Like that, right there. Like, that is just not fair at all. But yeah, Frogger Arcade has piss poor hit detection. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure on how warm I am to the overall concept. I mean, yes, it's not a space shooter, but I don't exactly know how interesting or involved it is. Especially because the concept kind of ruins the point of the game. Or kind of ruins what the game can do. It's clearly more ambitious than what it could have realistically programmed. I mean, I'd rather play something that's a little bit more precise than something that's a little bit more different. Especially when we're talking about arcade games. But, like, sometimes I go underwater, because I went from one turtle tile to the other turtle tile, and I have no idea why. I don't know if that's a glitch, or if that's what's supposed to happen, or the game just got confused. Although I will say, it seems that Frogger is one of the first games that focused on music, and that's just a pain in the ass. Like, when there's only one space left, chances are that's where an alligator's gonna come in through. I will be right back. Alright, back to this. But yeah, starting with level 2, I think, alligator heads start popping out of the areas where the frog wants to be, I guess. However, that's a problem, because if there's only one hole left, chances are the alligator is going to pop out there, and it just seems to kill you unfairly. If there's only one hole left, the alligator should not appear there. Yeah, I don't think I'm even going to go for an extra life on this one. I've made shorter... Why? I'm beginning to wonder why this exactly was considered an arcade classic. I mean, why was it worthy of franchise? I mean, I know why the franchise isn't really around today, because it wasn't really treated with much respect. It had 2 main games. There was a sequel to Frogger, I think on next-generation consoles like PlayStation 2, which means I've never played it, but... Yeah, I don't know why exactly this is considered one of the arcade greats. Like, I want to give some benefit of the doubt to this just being a problem with the ROM, but I can imagine this being just a problem with the game, how the game is programmed. Like, the computer isn't going to make things less, accurate, I guess. It's not going to make the hitboxes worse. I mean, it's not like Frogger is the worst game I've ever played, or even the worst arcade game that I played for this list. Kicks, I don't think anything is gonna beat Kicks. Like, can I move one to the left, or one to the right there? I don't know. How about now? Probably not. But what if I landed on something like this? Can I move to the left right now? Yes. Okay. Well, can I move to the right now? No. Because you're restricted to a grid, like, this kind of... I mean, this is something that, like, requires analog controls, really. So you can just tiptoe up to an edge or something. Okay, I can't get too close to the trucks because they're, you know, boxy and shit. But, yeah. Right now I'm just testing things. Oh, also, in the Game Boy version, if you go back here, it kills you. Honestly, I think another problem with Frogger is that it is kind of too difficult to be enjoyable. I mean, it doesn't really get... Its difficulty isn't enjoyable like Defenders was. Because a lot of the times it feels like the game is genuinely trying to screw you over. Weird hit detection, random obstacles just ramping up again and again and again. Like, right now, this here is a save spot, but in level 3 and such, there's going to be a snake going back and forth. It's just going to make everything all hectic. Yeah, like, after this, I'm probably not going to be playing Frogger again. Or at least not for long. Frogger is not the kind of game that holds your attention for very long. I should not have been able to make that jump. Plain and simple. I know I keep reiterating myself, but a lot of games are just ruined because of one fatal flaw. That's all it takes sometimes. Just... Okay, I don't know why there was slowdown there. But just one thing can just completely annihilate a game, and Frogger's is hit detection. And maybe I'm being too nice when I say there's a reasonable explanation with it being grid-based. I mean, the shooters that I played, like Galaga, they were fine with diagonals and moving all across the screen and having perfect hit detection. And of course, there's that. I don't know, Frogger's kind of always been at odds with itself, I guess. Maybe the reason that it hasn't been a well-established franchise like Pac-Man has is because it's hard to make its overall concept engaging. What I can say is that I'm not having very much fun. And for the most part, that's all arcade games kind of have. What just happened? I won, but I game overed. Like, no, I am legitimately curious. What just happened? And that's weird. A demo mode with no Frogger. Oh, the alligators appear on level 1. You know, I think we're done here. Frogger is a no. I mean, if you enjoy it, I can't really fault you. I just don't think it's a game that everybody must play. I mean, it's an interesting idea, but they just didn't have the technology to fully realize it. And even when they did, by the time that they did, there were other more engaging games around. Saying positives, like, I like the music, even though it's not originally for Frogger. And it's nice and colorful. Although that's what you could say about a lot of early 80s games when they finally discovered we can put color in these things. But I think we're done here. Playing any longer is not going to really change my mind. I think we're done. Oh, now there's a Frogger on the demo screen. Look at how slow he's going. He's gonna run out of fucking time.